Well, speaking of revisions and starting over, is there anything in either or any of your books, but specifically within Touch of Gold or Curse of Gold, that ended up on the editing room floor, didn't make it in, that you had wished to put in there?
Yes. There was a magical balcony in A Touch of Gold, where the king would, it was rumored that this balcony, if you said a lie while you were on it, it would crumble under your feet and reveal that you lied, right? And pretty much plummet you to your death. So it was a pretty strong motivation not to lie. And it was the balcony from which the kings and queens would give speeches to the populace, to the people. So it was a pretty important balcony. And I really loved that. And it played a really crucial role in the ending originally. And it had bearings on the sequel as well. But my editor thought it didn't fit the magic of the world particularly well. So we cut that out for that reason. So that was a little sad. I've always loved that balcony and that idea. Maybe it'll come back in a different way in a different book someday.
Man, that would have made the book so much better. Sullivan.
It's such a small.
I didn't miss it until you told me about it.
But I loved it. I was like, man. And again, like I said, we almost took out all of the Greek mythology, but I fought for that one and kept that in. There were a couple like characters I took out here and there, stuff like that. I added in a character. That's actually a surprise. Is spoiler alert for A Touch of Gold, guys. I added in a character just to kill them off. And there's one character that dies that's fairly important, and my thought of it. So in A Curse of Gold, so when you see who dies, you'll be like, what, you just added them in to kill them off? That's really cool. It was really cool. But my agent said there wasn't enough at stake and someone needed to die, and I couldn't bear any of my favorite characters, so I just created a new one.
That's a lot of work. So I thought they were in there from the start, and you went back and added them every little bit just to have. It's fantastic.
Yep. And those of you who know who it
is. That's a huge amount of work.
But it didn't seem like work, did it? Because you couldn't tell.
That's true. No, if you hadn't told me that you did it, I had no idea. But that's the magic of writing. I get the one read through, and I get to experience it. Oh, that looked like it must have been effortless. She must have sat down in an afternoon and heard divine voice speaking to her and just wrote down everything it said, and here it is. It came to me fresh.
Yep. See, all that magic, all that writing magic in these fingers is mine.
Talk a little bit about world building. You mentioned the balcony couldn't stay because the magic wasn't consistent with the rules. So how? And this is something that I'll be talking with Marcy Kate Connolly about it as well, because I know she leads a whole workshop on the subject. So I'm talking to her this week, is why I'm bringing her up. It's going to be a week of learning about magic world building for Rob and for you as well, esteemed audience. We'll all have a good time. How do you? I mean, it's magic. It's all bullcrap. If you can have a shark to push, you can have a werewolf. I don't understand. Why? How do you go through and make sure that your magic is consistent? How do you decide what magic is allowed and what won't work?
Yeah. So actually, that's one of the hardest things that I do. When I start writing a book first of all, is there magic or not magic? And if there is magic, it has to be like perfect in your novel, because if your reader can come into your book and spot one thing that's wrong with your magical system, the entire book is flawed, right? It's ruined for that person because they're like, what? Why didn't they just do that? So like, for example, if you have a character who has power since birth, and that's like, what they're used to using as their weapon, and you need to get them from point A to point B, and someone's chasing them, and you need someone to chase them, but they don't use their power to just like stop that person, like that's a flaw, right? Because that is so inherent to them as a person. Like that's the first thing they're going to do. They're not going to like throw barrels behind them to make the person trip. Like they're going to use that power. So like you have to be so particular about when they use their power, how they use it. But like you said, you have to have an entire believable system, because even though, yes, it is fantasy, it's all made up, it still has to make sense. It can't just be like, one day someone was born with magic and no one else had ever heard of it in this entire kingdom. Like, that just seems really weird, right? So you have to figure out, like, who has magic. So, like, in A Touch of Gold, the gods basically have magic, right? They have this power to do whatever they want, and they can bestow things on you or take things away or turn you into a satyr or a grape or whatever they want to do. And so you've got to figure out who has power, where does that power originate from? Like, do wizards have power? How do they wield that power? Do they have to have a staff? Do they have to say spells? Can they mouth the spell? Can they whisper the spell? Can they sing it? Does it have a different effect if they do it different ways? All these things, like you said, it can be an entire course on how to incorporate magic into your story in a consistent, believable way. And it's one of the, in my personal opinion, it's one of the hardest things to write about because you have to get it perfect. Like, you cannot have holes in your magical system on any part of it. If any part of it fails, the entire thing fails, basically. But
I know you're not writing down a plot. Refuse to do it. But do you at least write down your magical rules or some kind of guide to keep that consistent?
No, it's all up here. Pretty much
And if I check your hard drive, I got to find something other than multiple manuscript drafts. There has to be some file or something. No research notes, nothing.
Nope. No. I will
crazy.
occasionally make, like, when I'm, like, mostly through a story, I will sometimes go through and like, just make little plot points. I'm like, okay, here's where we've been. Like, if I'm stuck, I'll be like, what comes next? So I have some of those notes, but it's not like research. I don't write down anything like that. No. It's all in the story. It's there. Like, if you need it, it's there.
No, I feel like Salieri learning that Amadeus Mozart doesn't make multiple notes on. He just writes one note down like he's taking dictation. I already felt a little bit inadequate because I love Tiger Queen. I love Touch of Gold. I know that you're an excellent storyteller, but now it's even worse. You don't need notes.
I know.
I've got to get your brain. It's a supercomputer producing stories.
Yeah, and this is why I need my sister, though, because, like, on page 1 they got blue eyes, but then by page 46, oh, look at his green eyes, and I'm like, well, yeah, I didn't write it down. I don't remember what color eyes he has. So, like, that's when my sister comes in extra helpful, because I'm like, yeah. Actually, right before this call, I had a few minutes, and I was like, I was trying to actually make some, like, notes, because I have, like, a big cast of characters in this thing I'm working on, and I got to the point where they're about to be introduced, and I was like, man, I don't know anything about them. So now I'm like, what if I just, like, give them names? Will that help? So I'm trying to just, like, write down names and maybe, like, hair colors or something. So I, like, know who these people are, but that just seems like a lot of work. So I didn't get very far.
Oh, this is fascinating.
So fun being a writer, guys. Honestly, no, I can't, like, if I wrote things down, I would just lose them. Like, I'm a very tidy person, though, so, like, I would just put them in a drawer and then I would never find them again. So, gotta keep it all up here. I will say this. I have a story idea document on my phone. So when I do come up with story ideas that I'm not, like, writing actively, I will put them in my phone, and that's, like, 40 pages single space right now, if you, like, printed it out.
And do you go back through it often enough to find things that you then can write about?
No. That's the worst part. Is, like, I have a bunch of amazing ideas in there, and I just never go back to it. And unless I'm putting a new idea, and then I'll, like, scroll back and be like, oh, that's a cool idea. Oh, well, I'm back to this thing. Like, so